Dr. Sandra J. Talby, Doctor of Mental Health, trained in psychiatry, and ordained minister of the Word and Sacrament.
A lot of times people say, oh, you changed careers. I didn't really. I could always see people's pain. And so because I've always been drawn to that, I entered into a career path that led me to get the degree in the Doctorate of Mental Health because my father told me that God didn't call girls to be pastors, because I come from a long line of pastors. And I was in my 8th year of practice in mental health when I actually experienced a very, very, very deep internal call to preach. So I got here because it became clear to me that there had to be some kind of integration of faith with psychiatry.
Using this integration of faith and psychiatry, Dr. Talby wrote the book, You Can't Heal a Wound by Saying It's Not There.
The book is about overcoming the wounds that we all have. It helps people acknowledge, first of all, that they have a wound. And a lot of people would say, I don't have one. And there might be, 1 or 2 people out there who really are just totally fine. But most of us have wounds because we grow up in our families, and there are hurts. Some of it verbal, some of it emotional, some of it is a lack of affirmation. And people grow up and they have an emptiness in their heart. And so the book is about acknowledging that, facing it, and then overcoming it.
You Can't Heal a Wound by Saying It's Not There is structured through principles. First, addressing the fact that we all have wounds. Second, dealing with the wounds. Next is overcoming the wounds through therapy, a 12-step program, and/or finding a faith community. Finally, sharing what you've learned to help other people address and overcome their wounds.
I was asked by my publisher, well, who's your target audience? And it's people in general. And it's people who have somehow either walked away from a life of faith or who aren't sure about a life of faith. But it's also for people who say, yes, I'm a follower of Jesus. And so it really isn't targeted for one group. I believe it's a book that speaks kind of universally to the wounds that we carry. Hello, my name is Sandra, and I'm a grateful follower of Jesus Christ. And I'm recovering from and overcoming a number of addictions. My story is woven throughout the pages here, alongside the stories of many other courageous fellow strugglers, in an attempt to bring hope to you who read this book. I am indebted to them for allowing me to share their stories with you. My purpose has been to speak transparently and authentically about the various ways wounds manifest in our lives, attempting to look at ways in which we suffer fracture inside, apart from God, and how we might be moved to bring change. This book is also about overcoming generational wounds, so that you might believe that overcoming them is possible for you and your offspring. I say overcoming because we are never done until we meet Jesus face to face on the other side of heaven. In the meantime, we are still in process. I want to share a story about being in process, and it comes from an excerpt from the Marjorie Williams classic, The Velveteen Rabbit. It will remind you that even though you may be in process takes a very long time. So I begin. This comes directly from her book. What is real? Asked the rabbit one day when they were lying side by side near the nursery fender before Nana came to tidy the room. Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle? Real isn't how you are made, said the skin horse. It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. Does it hurt? Asked the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the Skin Horse, for he was always truthful. "When you are real, you don't mind being hurt." "Does it happen all at once, like being wound up?" he asked. "Or does it happen bit by bit?" "It doesn't happen all at once," said the Skin Horse. "You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to the people who don't understand." As time went on, the little rabbit was very, very happy. So happy that he never noticed how his beautiful velveteen fur was getting shabbier and shabbier, and his tail was becoming unsewn, and all the pink rubbed off his nose where the boy had kissed him. And so I say here in this epilogue to that, that while we are in process, we have this perfect picture image here of how God patiently stands with us, and he woos us with a love that is perfect, compelling, overwhelming, unconditional, sacrificial, and never lets go. As we are in process of becoming real, God loves us to a point where we can begin to piece together all the raggedy, frayed threads of our lives. And then God binds us up and heals the wounds of our soul in and through a relationship with Jesus Christ and with each other. God redeems our messed up years. He grants us a peace that does not exist in anything else. And then he stamps us as his own. This is essentially the promise that God made to ancient Israel, the story I tell in this book, as a backdrop, as a backstory. And he also makes this promise to you and me in and through Jeremiah chapter 31. It's the only cure that heals our wounds and restores us to a life worth living. It awaits all of you who desire to embark on that journey with me. The beginning.